Hi, Uri. This is your work for Monday and Tuesday. We're going to walk together through it. I think that'll make it easy and hopefully a little bit more fun. Now, as you began Macbeth on Friday, you should have a general idea of what the story is going to be about. It might be helpful for you to go over your list of events from Friday's work or to watch that short video one more time to refresh your memory. But if not, don't worry because we're going to dive into it together. Okay, so just to orient you here, we're going to watch a video together, and as we do it, we're going to be answering questions from this workbook. I'm going to open that link in a new tab. Okay, and so there are 4 questions on page 96, 2 and 3 on 97 and 8, and so we have 9 questions altogether, not too many, and we'll answer them together. Remember that this is your work for 2 days of class, just 3 class sessions. So remember to spend an appropriate amount of time on this. Okay, now that said, I'm going to open the assignment here and let's get started. I want to first jump to a map, okay? Now, can you find yourself on this map? I'll give you a hint. You're at the bottom left corner. Okay, so if you scoot down here, you'll see here's Northern Ireland, and the island of Ireland is below. Okay, and there's Belfast. Okay, so across the water, we're looking at, can I zoom out? The northern part of England and Scotland, what is today Scotland. And at that time, these were separate countries. They weren't both part of the United Kingdom. So there were raiders coming in to steal Scotland at that time from the south. There were people coming in from Norway. The Viking raids had come from the northeast. Okay, there was a lot of invasion here and fighting over this territory. And that's the background for this story. Lots of fighting to steal the territory. Okay, now at the minute, the king of Scotland is called Duncan. Okay, at the minute, I mean, in this story. Okay, and you're going to hear early on mention of Cawdor, okay, and Glamis. Okay, we'll come back to those. Doesn't matter, you don't have to remember all this stuff, but just so you have an idea about space and that this story is based in the real world. Okay, it's a great story. Wait till you see the graphic novel. Okay, now, welcome to comic class. We are going to dive in to this very, very serious looking person and his story. Okay, this is Macbeth. Oh, look at that sword. Okay, now, Act 1, Scene 1. Okay, the play is broken down into 3 acts, as many plays are. Okay, and this is the first of 3 scenes in that first act. Okay, now look at these lovelies. The play begins with these 3 witches. They're at a deserted, open place. And I'll do my best witch impression. When shall we 3 meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. Oh, I'm blushing even though there's no one here. That will be before the set of sun. Where the place? Upon the heath, there to meet with Macbeth. Okay, you can hear a little bit the rhyme that's built into the lines. Now let's go back and try to work out what are they talking about. When shall we 3 meet again? So there are 3 witches. They're going to set a date for their next appointment. Should they meet when it's thundering, when there's lightning or rain? When the hurly-burly's done, okay? When all the problem or the commotion is over. When the battle has been lost and won. So when the battle is over. That will be before the set of sun. Okay, so today, later today. Where? Upon the heath. There to meet with Macbeth. Now, they each have a cat. and they're about to name their cats. And their cat is like a spirit that follows them around. So, I come, Grey Malkin. Paddock calls. Anon, in other words, here I come right away. Now, together they chant before they leave. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. Now, hopefully you like my witch impression. So feel free to do your own if you think you can do better. Now, fair is foul and foul is fair. Okay. That's what's called a paradox. In other words, it doesn't make sense at first, but when we think about it more, it does make sense. So fair is foul and foul is fair. Now, if you're playing football with your friends and somebody said, fair is foul, foul is fair, you'd say, what are you talking about? To foul someone is the definition of not fair. And if you're playing fair, you wouldn't foul anybody. So they seem to be talking about when the world is in this strange state where there's no right and wrong. Okay, foul and fair, no right and wrong. Okay. Hover through the fog and filthy air, so they're going to fly away into the air. Right, and that's the first scene. That's it. So let's jump back to our assignment. We'll look at our workbook. Okay, and this, you can skip over that page. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit if I can find my zoom. Now, you have that text again in your book here. Okay, so sorry, just working out how to navigate this page effectively. Okay, so here you have a glossary which tells you what the words mean. Okay, so air means before, and hurly burly, it's like a loud noise or confusion of the battle, for example. Okay, so that's the part that we just read. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. Now, fun fact, maybe not so fun for the people involved. When Shakespeare wrote his plays, people believed in witches and their magical powers. Every year, many innocent women lost their lives as they were suspected of being witches. Okay, they were drowned. Drowning was the test used, certainly in the United States and the Northeast. If they thought a woman was a witch, they would hold her underwater, and if she drowned, that proved that she was human and not a witch. But of course, she was dead at that point, so it didn't matter. And if she survived, then it proved she was a witch and they burned her. Okay, so there was no win there. Okay, moving on to our questions. Whoops, for the next part. Sorry, guys, just getting the hang of this document. Okay, scrolling across up to our questions. Okay, there we go. So you could tell I'm losing it a bit working from home, okay, with my silly voices. In this task, you will answer questions based on your reading, share your ideas on staging the scene. So let's look at the question. Number one, Shakespeare introduces the witches in the very first scene of Macbeth. How do you think that would have made the audience feel? So this is the work that you're going to be uploading. Okay, so question number one, what would this have been like for the audience? Now remember, they believed in witches. Okay, so to see some witches at the very beginning of the play saying that they're going to meet with Macbeth, okay, what kind of feeling would that have given to the play? Okay, I think one possibility is that it would have made the play a bit scary, and it would have made people think that things were involved in this play, evil spirits, predictions of the future that they believed in. Okay, so again, you could just say something like, it gave the play a spooky or eerie feeling. Okay, now number two, again, pause it if you want to write down your answers. Number two, what do the witches mean when they say fair is foul and foul is fair? We just spoke about this. So they're going to meet at a time when right is wrong and wrong is right. Okay. It's a little bit like a puzzle at this point. We don't know what it means exactly. But you might say, when people don't know what is right and wrong, okay, when people don't know what is right and wrong, they've lost track of their sense of right and wrong. Okay. Number three, why do you think the witches want to meet with Macbeth? Okay. Do you have any hints in the text? You can look back. Okay. You're going to be jumping between these different documents here a little bit. Okay. So, what do you think is the reason that they want to meet with him? Okay. They mention the battle being lost and won. Maybe it has something to do with that. Okay. Make a guess. And number four, it says in small groups work on presenting the scene. Consider how the witches will enter, how the witches speak, how the witches look, how the witches react to each other. Okay, you don't need to do that one. Okay, let's go on. Okay, we're going to jump back to this graphic novel. Okay, so we're now moving into Act 1, Scene 2. So maybe the curtains would have been closed on the stage, okay, if there were curtains. Okay, and now they're pulled back to reveal a new scene, or maybe people just came on stage and moved the set away. Okay, and now they're coming back and there's a new scene. Okay, and it's taking place in a camp at Forres. Okay, now let's jump back to our map. Here is Forres. Okay, and that's where Duncan, the king, has his castle. Okay, the king of all this land. Okay, and it makes sense to have a castle here because it's on the inlet. Okay, this looks a lot like where if you look at Belfast, okay, Belfast is in a very similar place, okay, on an inlet. Why? Because it's an easy place to bring ships in, a really good place to bring ships in and control who comes in and out. Okay, so there's Forres. Okay, and you can guess which one's Duncan. And he gets news of his army's battle against a rebellion. Okay, some group are trying to fight back and steal control of the country. Duncan says, "Who is this man covered in blood? He looks like he can give us the latest news from the battlefield." Okay, here's the man. "This sergeant fought like a real soldier to save me from being captured. Greetings, my brave friend. Tell the king how things stand." And now this man is going to tell the story of the battle. Now it's quite bloody. "It was poised or balanced on a knife edge. Both armies were exhausted and deadlocked. In other words, it was kind of a draw. That heartless, evil rebel, MacDonald, brought in reinforcements from the Western Isles." Okay, where do you think that is? That's here, Ireland. "That's when things began to go his way, and fortune smiled on him." Now, fortune is good luck. So this bad guy, in their view, MacDonald, got smiled on by good luck. And good luck was like, now this is awful language here, but this is what's in the play, like a rebel's whore. Okay, so he's saying good luck was like a prostitute smiling at this bad guy. Okay, quite a way to express an idea. Okay, and here he is. So it doesn't look good for Duncan's army, but it didn't last because brave Macbeth neglected his own safety and carved his way through them with a bloody, smoking sword until he faced MacDonald. He didn't stop to shake hands or say goodbye. He just ripped the villain from navel to jaw. Okay, from belly button to here. And the word they use in the actual play is unseamed. In other words, opened a seam like a shirt seam, okay, from navel to jaw. Okay, very, very violent imagery in this play. And stuck his head, this is MacDonald, the baddie, on our battlements. So who saved the day? Brave Macbeth. He didn't care about his own safety. He carved his way through the enemy with a bloody, smoking sword. Okay, wow. And King Duncan says, "What a brave cousin and a great man." But our sun didn't shine for long. The storm broke out again, and our triumph was short lived. In other words, it looked like we were going to hold on to victory, but then things changed again. Listen to this, King of Scotland. No sooner had the Western Islanders started to run away than the Norwegian commander, so now ships from Norway, okay, remember, up here coming in, started to run away. Then the Norwegian commander began another assault with reinforcements and fresh weapons. Oh, so they were already exhausted, but here come new soldiers and weapons. Didn't this worry our captains, Macbeth and Banquo? Okay, so Macbeth and Banquo. Remember those names. As much as sparrows worry eagles or hares worry lions, do hares or rabbits scare lions? Not at all. Do sparrows, little birds, scare eagles? Not at all. Okay, and these Norwegian soldiers did not worry Macbeth and Banquo, okay, who were like the eagle or the lion. I am telling you the truth, they were like fighting machines. They tore into the enemy as if they wanted to cover themselves in blood or create another Golgotha. Okay, they were loving the violence. And this soldier says, "But I'm weak. My wounds need attention." And King Duncan said, "Your words are as honorable as your wounds. Go, get him to the surgeons." Who's this? Now someone else is coming up. It's the Thane, like a lord, of Ross. Don't worry about keeping track of the characters. Duncan's key and Macbeth is key. And in a hurry, he looks as if he's seen remarkable things. Thane bows to the king. "Where have you come from, honorable Thane?" "From Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners have been flying freely." Okay, let's jump back. Oops. Okay, Fife. Okay, now the Norwegians, who they've just been fighting, okay, were in control here. The Norwegian king himself, along with a huge army helped by that disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a terrible assault. Okay, so there's another battle. He's coming from a different battle. Then Macbeth fearlessly confronted him head on and matched him blow for blow in single combat until he finally gave in and victory was ours. So there's Macbeth battling. Once again, the Norwegians. Great news. The Norwegian king wanted to negotiate terms. So he wanted to reach a peace agreement. But we wouldn't allow him to bury his men until he paid us $10,000 at St. Colm's Inch. The Thane of Cawdor must never be allowed to turn against us again. Go see his immediate execution and give his title to Macbeth. Okay, so these Norwegians were helped out by a traitor, somebody who was Scottish and changed sides. That's the lord who lived at this Cawdor castle. And King Duncan has now said, we're going to execute the Thane of Cawdor, okay, and give his title, Lord, Thane of Cawdor, or Lord of Cawdor, to Macbeth. I'll make sure it's done. What he has lost, noble Macbeth has won. Now that's the end of scene 2. Okay, and we're going to jump back to our questions, okay, in the workbook here. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, now we're on, the next set of questions. Okay, and we have read this portion already, this bit about how Macbeth cut his way through the enemy. Okay, and you saw some of the language changed in the graphic novel. Okay, but we just have two questions here. What does Macbeth do when he meets his enemy? Okay, what did Macbeth do when he meets his enemy? Did he run away? Did he try to negotiate a peace deal? Or did he fight his way through the enemy? Okay, and if he fought, how did he do? Was he successful? Okay, that's number one. And number two, what is your impression? Sorry, pause here if you need to write down your answer for number one. Okay. Number two, what is your impression of Macbeth? What's he like after learning about his behavior during battle? What can you say about him based on the way he handled himself in battle? Well, you know that he was successful, so he's what kind of soldier? Very effective. He's a good fighter. Okay. But what could you say about his personality? Look again. Sorry. Look again at the pictures of him battling. What kind of person is he? Okay, let's go back to this one. There he is, stabbing, kicking, okay, putting the head of his enemy on the castle wall. Okay, what kind of person is Macbeth? Getting confused between my documents here. It's a lot to manage. Okay, so those are the questions for task 3. Now we're going to continue on. Let's go to the next part. Okay, pause this if you want to finish your answers. Okay, I'm going to just scroll down to get the next page. And we'll jump back to the comic book because I think that's the images really help us to see what's happening. Okay, I think they're quite good images. So this is still Act 1 of 3 acts in the play. Okay, but this is the end of the first act. Okay, scene 3 on a Scottish heath. Okay, in the countryside. It's not a field, they're sort of rolling hills with high grasses, very rough, rugged territory. Where have you been, sister? Killing swine, killing pigs. What about you, sister? A sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, said I. Go away, witch, the rump-fed creature cried. So this witch asked a sailor's wife to share some chestnuts. Her husband's gone to Aleppo, the master of a ship, but in a sieve I'm going to sail. And like a rat without a tail, I'll do, and I'll do. In other words, she's going to sink the ship that this woman's husband is on. So that gives you a sense of what these witches are like. You're, I'll give you a wind, you're kind, and I another. Okay, so they're going to blow wind to sink that ship just because they didn't like the lady. Okay. This is how they thought about the way things happened to people at that time. I myself have all the other, and the very ports they blow, all directions that they go on compasses and maps. I'll drain him dry as hay. He won't sleep night or day. Weary, 7 nights and overtime, shall he dwindle, peak, and pine. Though his ship cannot be lost, it shall be wind, it shall by wind be tempest tossed. Look what I have. Now, all she's saying here is she's going to make him as sick as can be so that he's not going to sleep. This is the husband of that woman who wouldn't share her chestnuts. Show me, show me. Here I have a pilot's thumb, shipwrecked. as homeward he did come. Be-dum, be-dum, be-dum. A drum, Macbeth does come. Okay, now they were making trouble amongst each other, talking about shipwreck, another shipwreck they caused. Okay, but now they hear the beating of the soldiers' drums and know that Macbeth is on the way. The weird sisters, hand in hand, traveled over sea and land, thus do go about, thrice to thine, and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up nine. Peace! The spell's prepared. So they've created some kind of spell. I wonder what they're doing. I've never seen a day that was so good and so bad. Okay? Foul is fair, and fair is foul. How far is it to Forres? What are these? So withered looking and strangely dressed that they look like nothing on earth, yet they are on it. Okay, he's spotting the witches. Okay, now this is Duncan, excuse me, this is Macbeth and Banquo. Remember the captains in the army. Are you real or are you illusions? You seem to understand me, putting your bony fingers up to your skinny lips. You look like women, except your beards cast doubt on even that. So the witches have beards. Speak if you can. What are you? All hail Macbeth. Hail to you, Thane of Glamis. Now, Thane of Glamis is what he already is, Lord of Glamis. Okay, remember that's here, the castle here. All hail Macbeth. Hail to you, Thane of Cawdor. Now, he's not yet Cawdor. Nobody has told him that the king is going to give him the title of the traitor. So this is news to him. How could they possibly have known except through witchcraft? I like her hairstyle, by the way. All hail Macbeth! You will be king hereafter. Now, they've just told Macbeth. They've made another prediction. Okay, so one thing's true, another we know is coming true, and now the third thing, they're making a prediction that he will become the king. Okay, now Duncan is the king, so how that's going to happen, we don't know. He's not Duncan's son. Now, this is Banquo and this is Macbeth. Banquo says, "My friend, why do you recoil and seem to be afraid of things that sound so good? So, why are you taken aback? Why are you so startled by things that sound good? In the name of truth, are you real or not?" Banquo says to the witches. "You make my noble friend here speechless with your promises of great things, predictions of nobility and possible royalty. But you don't say anything to me. If you think you can predict the future, then talk to me, as I don't believe in fortune telling." Okay, so you might ask yourself, when Macbeth hears that he might one day be king, why does he get so quiet and taken aback? And Banquo says, "I don't believe in this witchcraft stuff. If you think you can tell the future, tell me what's going to happen to me." Hail! 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 Not as great as Macbeth, but greater. Ooh, that's like foul and fair. It doesn't make sense. Not as great, but greater. Not so happy, but much happier. You will breed kings, though you will not be one. So, all hail Macbeth and Banquo, Banquo and Macbeth, all hail. Okay, let's look at that again. Okay, we're almost done here. They tell Banquo his future and they say, "You will not be as great as Macbeth." Okay, they told Macbeth he's going to be the king, but you'll be greater. You won't be so happy as Macbeth, but much happier. And you will breed or be the father of kings, but you will not be a king yourself. So all hail Banquo and Macbeth, all hail Macbeth and Banquo. Wait, you ghosts, tell me more. My father's death made me Thane of Glamis. Right, so he took over for his father. That's how he became the Lord of Glamis. But not Cawdor. The Thane of Cawdor is alive and well. And for me to be king is no more believable than being Thane of Cawdor. Where do you get this strange information? Why do you stop us on this windswept heath with such predictions? Speak up, I command you. The earth has ripples just like water. That's what these are like. Where have they vanished to? So it's as if the earth just did one of these and the witches are gone. Into the air. What seems solid has melted like breath into the wind. They disappeared. I wish they'd stayed longer. Were they really here, or are we going mad? Macbeth says to Banquo, your children will be kings. You will be king. And Thane of Cawdor, too. Isn't that how their song went? And now they're laughing. They don't believe. The very tune, and the words, too. But someone's coming. Who's this? The king is delighted with the news of your success. He's especially impressed with your personal courage, Macbeth. So these are the men that the king sent to tell Macbeth that he is being given the title Thane of Cawdor, which he just learned, or heard from the witches, rather. Okay? He's impressed with your personal courage, Macbeth, against the rebels. He said the glory is yours, not his. Reports have been coming thick and fast about your fearless rampage through the Norwegian ranks, and every report praised your formidable defense of the kingdom. In other words, everybody's telling the king you did a great job fighting the Norwegians. We've been sent to thank you and to escort you to the king. And as a sign of his gratitude, he's instructed me to call you Thane of Cawdor. So hail, most deserving Thane, for that title is now yours. Now, they've just told him that he is being given the title of Thane of Cawdor. And Banquo is shocked. What? Can the devil speak the truth? He's speaking about the witch. But the Thane of Cawdor is still alive. Why are you giving me his title? The man who was the Thane is still alive, but under sentence of death. I'm not sure whether he joined with the Norwegians or gave help to the rebels to destroy the country. Either way, he's confessed to capital treason. He's a traitor, and he's as good as dead now. Now, these are thought bubbles. Macbeth is thinking, Glamis and Thane of Cawdor? The greatest is yet to come to be king. Now he's starting to believe. Thank you for your trouble. Now that's the end of Act 1, Scene 3. Okay, let's jump back and look at our questions. Okay, what three titles do the witches greet Macbeth with? Okay, Thane of Glamis, Thane of Cawdor, and what's the last one that they say Macbeth will become? Okay, pause your video if you need. Question 2, which title do you and the audience already know he's about to be given? Okay, now this is where the witches make their prediction before he knows. Okay, so the answer here is Thane of Cawdor. Okay, and then the question, so part 2, the first part is, which do you know he's about to be given? That's Thane of Cawdor. And which title might surprise them? So which title might surprise the audience when the witches predict it? Okay. And then for number 3, in your own words, what are the witches' predictions for Banquo? Let's go back. Okay, remember Banquo demands to know. Okay. Not as great as Macbeth, but greater. Not so happy, but much happier. And here's the key part. You will be the father of kings. You'll give birth to kings, rather be the father of kings, but you will not be one. Okay. That's the key prediction there. Okay, so if you've been watching this and listening closely, I think you should be able to answer those questions pretty well. But send me your questions if you're not sure about something. Okay, I hope that was helpful.